we did get a comic book this week that really just encapsulates a lot of the terrible decisions that Marvel Comics makes in their line. And they put it into one comic book called Kid Juggernaut #1. You probably don't even realize this, but this character's been around since last year. I think introduced in like Marvel's Voices Infinity Comics. Yes, the books that are supposed to be digital only. But he got his own like 6-issue digital special. And they decided to combine it out and sell it for $6 this month. And this thing was such a pile of trash. It was so bad. Like you could tell the person or the peoples involved with it have no interest in writing a comic book, and they certainly don't know anything about Marvel Comics' buying audience. Marvel Comics seems to think every new hero must represent a minority community these days, but instead of creating fresh characters, they recycle existing ones, slapping a new identity on an old name and calling it progress. Kid Juggernaut, or Justin Jin, is a prime example. They've taken the iconic Juggernaut, a powerhouse villain with a legacy tied to X-Men, and draped his mantle over a new character who fixed representation. Fans despise these variant characters, seeing through the superficial stunt for what it is, a lazy attempt to check diversity boxes without effort of building a genuinely new hero. The backlash is predictable. Readers want originality, not a reskinned Juggernaut. When you read the character and you open it up, and if you just started reading it for like the first, 12 pages, you would think this was an Amadeus Cho book. It's that generic. But of course, Amadeus Cho Gogurt Hulk didn't work. Even something as celebrated as like the new Hawkeye doesn't really work. No one cares about female Hawkeye. They want to see the actual Hawkeye. They don't want to create anything new. They just want to steal what already exists. Why do you want to steal the legacy of Juggernaut and throw it onto a more diverse character? And why does he need to be a hero this time? But they just kind of keep doing this, and it's very reminiscent, because the Iron Fist can't be on a white character, so it's got to go to like the Swordmaster. Even though Swordmaster, while not a prominent character, actually had a little bit of promise there for a minute. If you go read that early stuff with Swordmaster, it's kind of a cool character. But when you get to the part where he's playing Iron Fist, totally generic, totally sucks, not a good writer because it's Alyssa Wong. And they just kind of go down this rabbit hole of trying this over and over and over again. Of course, it's not just a Marvel problem. We just got the power company recharged from DC this week. The return of Jace Fox, Black Batman. I think having Batman and Batman, fucking Beyond was probably enough for that character as far as variants. But the same thing goes with Spider-Man. Spider-Man was enough. Ben Reilly was starting to push it. Spider-Man 2099, all right, that one's in the future. But now it's like, we got to have Silk. We've got to have Spider-Ham. We've got to have Spider-Punk. We've got to have Spider everything. And now I guess they've made so many generic Spider characters that nobody cares about. They're just making new generic characters that you wouldn't expect this with Juggernaut. Like, it doesn't even make sense. But there needs to be a new Marvel Asian hero that nobody knows exists. Come up with an original concept. Maybe we can actually have, like a new origin for a character. But this stuff really just never happens. They just like, yep, we will just take Juggernaut and throw it on top of this character, and he will be Juggernaut, and therefore he will have success and be popular like Juggernaut. Like, it doesn't work that way. There needs to be some level of creativity, but we've seen this so many times over and over again, specifically at Marvel, but certainly at DC as well, that there's no hook anymore. Like, there's not even spec value and stuff like this. Of course, Justin Jin, aka Kid Juggernaut, has to be a gay man as well, because apparently every new Marvel character must represent the LGBTQ plus community. It's become a tired trope. Gay, lesbian, bi, or trans characters are flooding the pages at a rate that feels wildly disproportionate. It's as if Marvel believes half the roster needs to fit this mold to stay relevant, ignoring how this overrepresentation can alienate fans. Looking at the past decade, the influx of queer characters across Marvel and DC has been relentless. While inclusivity matters, the heavy-handed approach leaves readers rolling their eyes. Justin's identity as gay Korean Juggernaut feels less like character traits and more like a mandated checklist item, further distancing those who just want a good story. Like, opening this comic book, get to the first 4 pages, like, oh, okay, Juggernaut's Asian. And then you get to like the 6th page, you're like, oh, of course, he's totally tongue-tied and can't even talk to this boy because he loves him so much. It has nothing to do with the story. It doesn't play into it at all. It doesn't really add anything to the narrative or the scope of the character when everybody needed to be gay because they need everyone to be gay. apparently in Marvel Comics, it's really ridiculous. It's far worse with female characters, to be completely honest. Like the amount of lesbians in Marvel Comics is almost staggering, but they only really hire lesbian writers these days. I don't know why that is. So every female that you hire is a lesbian. Every female character that you get is a lesbian character. It hasn't been quite as prominent with the male characters, but it's still been, pretty outrageous. Just like the amount of overcorrection has been almost staggering, certainly to the detriment of Marvel Comics and Marvel Comics fans. And I think that's why there's like no juice left at Marvel Comics. Nobody even talks about this stuff anymore, because at some point it does get embarrassing to be a Marvel fan. You're like, I was very surprised that he was a gay character. Like, of course he had to be a gay Asian Juggernaut. What else could he have been? Then there's the secret sister trope, or in this case, secret grandson. Marvel's obsession with expanding superhero families through obscure relatives is lazy and uninspired. Justin Jin is the grandson of Jin Moon Ho, a Juggernaut who appeared in a single issue of New Excalibur back in 2007, a series that most fans don't even remember, giving him the same powers as his grandfather via the Crimson Gem of Sidorak removes all creativity from the process. Why not craft a new villain or hero with a unique origin? Instead, Marvel digs up forgotten characters to justify another legacy tie-in, banking on nostalgia that doesn't exist. Fans crave fresh ideas, not recycled family drama that feels like a cheap plot device. I am so utterly sick and tired of the Secret Sister. And I know it's not always the Secret Sister, but we call it the Secret Sister trope, to where all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Spider-Man's got a fucking sister. Like, why does Spider-Man have a sister? You go over to Nightwing. Nightwing now has a secret half-sister, and she needs to be like the fucking mayor of Bloodhaven. Because there's just no room for creativity for some reason within the pages of Marvel or DC Comics these days. They can't come up with good original origins for characters. They can't come up with good original powers. That's why we're seeing stuff like Soft Serve. A mutant character that poops soft serve ice cream is pretty fucking stupid. Like, what purpose does that serve within the universe itself? What purpose does a character like a Somnus serve within the pages of Marvel Comics? Yet those are the original origins. Those are the original powers that you get. Pooping soft serve ice cream and Sleep Raper characters. So obviously those characters are never going to get any traction. That's like the level of creativity that a lot of these modern writers have these days. So I guess it is easier and less dangerous to let them just go like, hey, we're going to make another Juggernaut, and he's going to be the grandson of a character nobody remembers, but we'll do like a little page explaining what happened 25 years ago that everyone missed the first time because nobody was reading New Excalibur. You get what you pay for in life, and Marvel aren't paying for good creative, and they're getting terrible creative, and this is like the shortcut. The secret fucking sister is so played out and overused within comic books. It doesn't add family drama. It just kind of destroys the history and origins of the characters because they always have to go back to the very beginning and start breaking everything to end up doing this kind of stuff. But seriously, let's come up with some actual ideas on how to make new heroes. Let's come up with some ideas for some new powers that make the characters compelling. Because just Secret Sister, always related, had the power, like it gets ridiculous over time. And since Justin Jin is Korean, Marvel's unwritten rule kicks in. Only a select few writers like Greg Pak, Maureen Goh, or Emily Kim can touch the book. Greg Pak, who at one point knew how to write compelling comics, isn't available, leaving Marvel in a bind because their rigid casting of writers based on ethnicity, race, gender, or sexuality has gutted their creative flexibility. In comes Emily Kim, who wrote Kid Juggernaut #1. But of course, the results are lackluster, and fans notice when diversity hires prioritize identity over storytelling. This approach has drained Marvel of its once vibrant creative energy. Fans long for the days when the best writers, regardless of background, could tackle any character. And apparently Emily Kim has written some stuff for television, maybe like The Last Airbender. But if you go and look at her comic book biography, it's Silk. It's like Agents of Atlas. It's Kid Juggernaut, because she's been cast as Asian writer Emily Kim. And yeah, she is an Asian American of Korean descent, but that doesn't mean she can only write Korean characters, or it also doesn't mean that because she's Korean and she's a writer that she's going to be a good writer for Korean prospective superheroes in the Marvel Comics universe. And when you read this book, it reads like shit. It reads like somebody that doesn't know how to, or certainly doesn't care to know how to, write good comic books. Shit just fucking happens. It just comes out of nowhere. The dude's standing there, and the mom's like, hey, your dad's dead. I want to talk to you about something, but I'm going to go to the basement. You go make donuts. That's a real fucking scene in the comic book. That is not competent, and there aren't enough competent editors to oversee somebody like an Emily Kim to actually maybe, if the foundation was there, create a good comic book writer that would be competent in the future. So you get this weird cycle to where you don't have competent people on the books. They're not allowed to go there because you have to cast a writer based on their race, ethnicity, their gender, their sexuality, or whatever, to the character itself. A lot of these characters end up being pretty unique. All the new characters end up being pretty diverse as far as where they come from. So now you've got to find a like half Eskimo trans person to write the fucking book. Otherwise you might offend people. And it turns out there's like one like half Eskimo or Inuit fucking trans person in the entire world. And they write the book and it ends up sucking. I'm not saying that Emily Kim can't become a good comic book writer. I'm saying Emily Kim will never become a good comic book writer at Marvel Comics with their editorial staff. And I'm sure she doesn't like to be fucking pigeonholed to being only able to write certain characters based on their fucking ethnicity. It's ridiculous. You go out there and you say, hey, we have room for a miniseries. We want to do something maybe with this character. You take pitches, and whoever has the best pitch and the best creative idea gets the fucking gig. But they don't do that. And hey, maybe if Greg Pak was available, Kid Juggernaut wouldn't have been atrocious. Maybe it just would have been really bad. But that's not exactly good either. So they have got to end this practice. It's one of the most reductive, stupid ideas they've ever had in their lives. Finally, Kid Juggernaut started as an Infinity comic meant to be a digitally only exclusive on Marvel's app, but they've repackaged it into a print issue, charging $6 for a story that was never meant to see physical shelves. This is another example of a cash grab from Marvel Comics, bundling a lackluster digital series into a book they know fans will regret buying. The story's poor quality, evident in its forced representation and uninspired plot, drives readers away, yet Marvel doesn't even bother to advertise on the cover that this is a collected Infinity comic, hiding the fact that it's not even new. Fans feel cheated by these tactics, and it's no wonder Marvel keeps losing readers when they prioritize profit over quality storytelling. If it is a printing of a digital comic book series, it should say Infinity Comics Original at the fucking top and let you know that it's on the app. You do not need to buy this. It was never actually intended to be printed. But if you love Kid Juggernaut so much from the app, you should buy this comic book. But if you're a regular reader, know that we put the most dog shit talent that we could find on this book because we wanted it to be as cheap as possible. We did not go out there and find a competent artist to put on the book. And every time I accidentally grab one of these, because it's never advertised, and you're like, oh God, I got 14 pages in this stupid story. I go and I look at the solicitation because I don't know exactly what I'm reading. I was like, how did this come out? And you're like, oh, it's a fucking reprint of the stupid digital comic books that weren't supposed to be printed at the beginning. And I think it's completely false advertising. And if you want to have your own digital line, I say go do it. But it's got its own flavor, and it certainly lacks a lot of quality and talent across the board. I understand that they were probably able to make some money off of the Infinity comic exclusive Wolverine stuff, which was not good, but it was at least Wolverine. So they keep going down this road, but they need to start telling people this is collected material for a comic book that's been out for 8 fucking months at this point and sucked to begin with. And I find it very, very frustrating, but I find almost everything going on at Marvel Comics these days frustrating. There are a handful of books I even want to read. I like Aliens vs. Avengers. I think there's one issue left. I really liked Hellhunters. That one ended last month. Red Hulk is probably the best thing going on with One World Under Doom. I wouldn't recommend people to read it, but it's not bad. I kind of like Cable, Love, and Chrome. It's a fucking miniseries. I really enjoy Weapon X-Men. It's become a miniseries. There's just so many bad things coming out of Marvel Comics these days. And I truly believe Kid Juggernaut, #1, is just emblematic of all these stupid problems that have really snowballed into this terrible state of Marvel Comics. I don't think Marvel Comics has ever been this low when it comes to creativity and quality just across the board. There's literally nothing worth reading these days. And I do hope that you didn't pick up Kid Juggernaut #1 because it is truly atrocious and awful. I am here to take these kind of bullets for you so you don't have to experience this yourself. If you appreciate me taking these kind of bullets and doing it for you on the regular, and you would like to support the channel, there's one place to do that. That is Thinking Critical Patreon. There's a link in the video description. There's a button right here. You go there, you find the right tier for you, and you get awesome podcasts in return, featuring all of your favorite guests like Doc, Aaron Sparrow, 32 Flavors of Nick Weiser. Who else we got in there? Jim from Weird Science. All the friends are there talking about comic books every single day on the Patreon. Hope to see you there very, very soon.